to the programme. Maru's week of welcomes is just over, and one of the features of the week was the O'Malley gathering. Here now is the speech of Ed O'Malley, who travelled from Wichita, Kansas, USA, to attend the O'Malley gathering in Maru, with some contributions from other speakers also.
Will you welcome, please, and give him a big welcome, Ed O'Malley.
Thank you, Dennis. And thank you, Ted, for all your help in making this all happen. I have two hopes tonight. One hope is to give you a sense for the pride that the O'Malleys in the United States feel for Maru, for being a part of this family. My second hope is to live up to the expectations and to hold myself together through this brief speech. The expectations of my father, of my grandfather, of my great-grandfather, who was born at Capanur. They are here in spirit tonight. My father, who's still alive, wishes he could have been here, but his health prevented it. And I hope that I'll live up to their expectations this evening. I want you to know how important it is for us O'Malleys in America to be O'Malleys. I want you to know that we grow up hearing the names of the towns and townlands of Matterboy and Kapanook and Moreau and Capanur. Now, what I didn't realize till I got here is how close together all those things are. I thought they were a bit further apart. Eddie Butler, who I met this evening, I've heard of Eddie Butler my whole life. Dennis and your sisters, I've heard about my whole life. And of course, we've heard from the time when we were babies of the story of my great-grandfather, Patrick Fleming O'Malley, born at Kapanook. The story goes he was a bit of a hothead. He had a bit of an ego, and he was mad at that landlord Barrington, and was fed up, and burned all the peat logs one day at Barrington's castle, and left for America shortly thereafter. Made his way to Chicago and opened a tavern. A picture of that tavern is in the home of all of us O'Malleys. We all have a picture of that tavern and Patrick Fleming O'Malley standing in front of that tavern. We have that picture in our living rooms. All of us do, all of my siblings, all of us, to remember where we came from, to remember what it must have been like for Patrick Fleming O'Malley to leave home and start a new life in a new country. My dad, Patrick Fleming O'Malley, left rather suddenly. He was in a bit of trouble, as you might imagine, for setting fire to the peat logs at Barrington's castle. And my dad was the first one to make contact again. No one heard. What I've learned is no one had heard whether Patrick Fleming O'Malley made it to America. No one knew where he ended up. And in 1960, my dad had graduated from college and came back to Ireland and made contact again. And he met people who had known his grandfather, my great-grandfather. And for the first time since the late 1870s, the families were reunited again. He came back again in 1968. He came back for his honeymoon in 1971. My mother has been here in 1980s, and now it's a privilege to be here myself. My father would love to be here, and really he should be the one giving the speech. But his health prevented him from being here. But before I left, he gave me a letter. He said, "Ed, don't read this letter till you're on the ground in Ireland." And I obeyed. I didn't read it till I was safely on the ground. And I'd like to read you the letter. I think it'll give you a sense of what us O'Malleys in America feel about this place and our love for you and for this land. Dated March 11th, 2013. Dear Eddie, in times past, when a son or daughter was leaving on a long journey, His parents would tuck a train letter into his pocket for him to read only when the train was safely away from the station. Often, and depending on the relationship between writer and reader, train letters detailed practical advice about care of wallets and security of luggage, the danger of talking to strangers, and admonitions to always arrive at the train station a bit early. This is not that kind of train letter. While you will see the Ireland that presents itself to you during your stay now, I'm going to urge you to focus on where you are, what happened around you in the past, and try to see it all through the eyes of your great-grandfather, Patrick Fleming O'Malley. See what he saw. Sit before the fireplaces that warmed him on a wet March day. As I've told you, your first view of Ireland is breathtaking, unless it is overcast, which it usually is. I brought the nice weather with me from Kansas, by the way. But it wouldn't dare be overcast on this trip. I was flying in an almost empty TWA Lockheed Constellation, every piece of sheet metal buzzing and vibrating as the 4 prop engines, red-hot gases shooting out of the engine, exhaust manifolds, as we strained to get to altitude. Then it was into the night, towards Newfoundland and the dark Atlantic below. Morning comes early when you're flying toward the sunrise, breakfast, and then eyes glued to the windows, looking for landfall in that incredible green countryside of home. Upon landing at Shannon, I was met by a lovely welcoming party of Eddie O'Malley's gorgeous girls from Palaspeg. Patrick Fleming O'Malley, his story is the story of all of us in America with immigrant ancestors. Dissatisfaction with their circumstance in Ireland, or in this case, Pat's dissatisfaction with his landlord living in that big stone house on the hill. Even we know that stacks of peat don't usually ignite by spontaneous combustion. Whatever the reason, whatever the circumstances, the facts have been passed down from generation to generation, with perhaps just a bit of embellishment. The Kansas branch of the O'Malleys tell the tale that the law was at the front door, but Pat slept out the back window, and by God, he was gone. And there, as we say in Wichita, Kansas, the trail runs cold. Pat probably walked to Cove and secured a steerage berth in one of the smaller steamers for the Atlantic crossing. Whether he landed in Canada and arrived in Chicago via the St. Lawrence River, or entered the country in New York at Castle Garden, the famous Ellis Island was not in operation for another 20 years or so, and then traveled overland for almost 900 miles to Chicago remains unknown. Why Chicago? We're not sure. But with that city's large Irish immigrant population, it is almost certain that Patrick Fleming O'Malley knew someone who had come from home. Patrick Fleming O'Malley, like most immigrants back then, went on to live an exemplary yet quiet life. He was widowed and left with one child, Margaret. A son, Edward, had died in the cot. Remarried, he fathered 6 more children, 4 girls and 2 boys, including my father, my grandfather, Thomas Francis O'Malley. Pat, at the end of his life, was owner of a typical Chicago pub. Free lunch every day, as long as you bought a beer. A mountain of a man, it was where he collapsed and died of a heart attack on the floor of the saloon in 1906, when Thomas Francis O'Malley, my grandfather, was just 4 years old. When my father, this is my dad talking to me now, when my father, your grandpa, died at the age of 97, we arranged to have the short fanfare for the common man by the American composer Aaron Copland played as we processed down the main aisle at St. Peter's Church in Kansas City, Missouri. Truly, Patrick Fleming O'Malley and his son, Thomas Francis O'Malley, were best described as the kind of common men Ireland sent us to build up our nation. Love, Dad. I should... Just in case there are any pilots or airline mechanics, I should read the postscript. He says, P.S. In the interest of full disclosure, son, in one paragraph of my letter, I describe how the hot exhaust gases were shooting out of the exhaust manifolds of the 4 engines on my plane. Ed, I have no idea what an exhaust manifold is or what it does. I figured you don't either, so I could have probably gotten away with it. Sorry, love, Dad. I hope you have a sense for how the O'Malleys in America feel about this place, feel about Maru, feel about Limerick, feel about Matterboy, feel about Kapanook and Capamore, and all the places and all the names. I want you to know there are people today, youngins, like these youngins here, who are being told those same names, who are being raised to think about this place, and who will visit one day. I come from the state of Kansas, and I'd like to tell you one final thing about Kansas. It's right in the middle of the state. By the way, those of you who think Maru is inland, you are wrong. You have no idea what inland is until you're from Kansas. In Kansas, we have a motto. Our state motto is ad astra per aspera. It's Latin for to the stars through difficulties. And last night, when I looked up at the stars above Maru, and they shine brighter here than I think I've ever seen, I could not help but think about our motto in Kansas, ad astra per aspera, to the stars through difficulties, and think about Patrick Fleming O'Malley and the difficulties he must have had to provide a life for himself and a life for so many others. It seems that this idea of to the stars through difficulties is something that the Irish share, whether they're in America or here in Ireland. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Ed, for that moving speech.
The Maru Boher Expo took place on the first weekend of the Week of Welcomes. Ellie Kelly will tell us about the Expo.
The beauty of the Expo is that it is truly a local event. It draws on the abilities and volunteerism of local people. Where were the venues? Well, practically every space available was used to conduct the festivities. The newly refurbished Boher Hall, the Winter na Tíre Hall in Maru, the local schools, the local pubs, Abington Enterprise, Glenstall Woods, the Forge. In fact, anywhere that could house more than 2 or 3 people was considered as a possible venue. What kind of activities took place over the weekend? Well, it all started in Maru Hall on Friday morning with the celebration of International Women's Day through song and poetry. Friday night saw Shanachie Eddie Lenihan engage his audience in a storytelling session by candlelight for anyone who wanted to, and this took place in the functions room in Crokers. Saturday morning was a hive of activity all around the village and in both parish halls, as budding Einsteins thronged the Boher Hall to enjoy the science and engineering and art activities as planned by Ita Richardson and her team. The hall in Maru was temporarily transformed into an oasis of delightful arts, crafts, hobbies and local business tables for all to come and view. There were free interactive demonstrations which attracted adults and children alike. Demos included cake decoration and icing by Breda Burns, spinning by Liz O'Connor, knitting skills by Maureen Kenny and Tanya Lomanek, jewellery making by Sharon Rail, and plasticine modelling by 3 very capable teens, Michael O'Connor, Luke Kelly and Leanne Lomanek. Exhibits were displayed by over 50 individual exhibitors of all ages and abilities, and there were 18 business tables, and the organisations like the Scouts, Beavers and Cubs, the ICA, the Marion Club and the Capamore Day Centre were all represented and all displayed beautiful handiwork. Teas and cakes were provided by the Scouts on Saturday and by the Camogie Club on Sunday. So all visitors to the hall got the chance to chat and catch up with friends and neighbours over a cuppa in the transformed environment of the parish hall. A workshop for children on card making yielded fabulous results, with everybody delighted with the beautiful cards that emerged. I suppose the most beautiful thing for me about the expo was the clear strength and level of volunteerism that is so visible in our parish. People day in and day out selflessly give their time and talents in this community, and they gave again this weekend as they helped to efficiently set up and smoothly dismantle the exhibition when it was over. And if all this wasn't enough, there was music workshops for children, drumming for all, the forge was open and attracted young and old as local farriers hammered and moulded their way through the day. The night finished off with a magic show for children and a sing-song that thrilled in powers and left many people hoarse and a little the worse for wear by the end. The Americans who were in attendance there couldn't get enough. Sunday then was a more restful affair with a festival mass and the healthcare expo to attend to the rest and recreational and health needs for the tired and overwrought and the curious. The rougher and tougher among us took to the hills for a 15-kilometre hike in Glenstall Wood, and the exhibition continued in the Winter Natira Hall with people enjoying a cuppa and a leisurely browse around the hall, admiring the talent of old and young alike. One lady came in looking for a few brochures so she could send them on to Australia. We must be doing something right. Well, with a little luck, I have managed to give you a flavour of what the Maru Boher Expo 2013 was all about. And we hope that the 2014 event will be as successful and as enjoyable as this one. Thank you for listening.
Noel Regan has the Maru AFC report and the girls' Gaelic football report.
This is the report from Maru AFC for the past number of weeks. Now, since Christmas the weather has been absolutely dreadful, with many matches having been called off, and it led to a serious backlog in fixtures. However, over the past couple of weeks we have been able to get some games played, and in fact the leagues now are beginning to progress towards a conclusion. So I'm going to give a quick synopsis of all the various teams in the club. The A team and the B team, both men's teams, are both in the top half of the table in their respective divisions at the moment, with 2 matches left each. However, both have exited their local cup competitions in the past few weeks, so their season is drawing to a close. In the underage boys section, the under 15 boys are nearly finished also. They're going to finish mid-table in their league, having had an excellent start to the season, but the results towards the end of the season slightly tapered off, and they're going to finish up mid-table. The under 12 boys, which are an excellent footballing team, unfortunately lost out to Kilmallock in a very exciting cup match last weekend on a 5-2 scoreline after extra time. It was an unfortunate result as the boys had led twice, and the game went to extra time, and unfortunately Kilmallock were slightly the stronger in extra time. In the league they finished mid-table in the league. Again, there's approximately 1, maybe 2 matches left in that. The under 11 boys had the result of the season for them. They went over to Capmore recently to play the cup quarter final, and after a superb game of football, the lads won on penalties after extra time. Now, it was hard luck in Capmore, but in fairness, the under 11 boys in Maru deserved a bit of luck this season, so well done to all the lads. The under 10 boys and girls have been participating in blitzes inside in the University of Limerick. These have been excellent, both for the standard of football and for the sportsmanship shown by all the teams concerned. These have come to a conclusion at the moment, but there is talks that they might run an extra couple of matches before the summer holidays. In the girls section, we've had some very good results of late. The under 16 girls remain undefeated in the league at the moment with 2 matches to play. However, the league title is still not secure. A win over Holy Cross would ensure the league title, so we anxiously await the playing of that game. In the under 14s, the girls had an excellent win last weekend, 3-1 over Regional, and that result means that they're guaranteed at worst to play off for the league title, and this would depend on other teams winning their matches, so they're at minimum they're guaranteed to play off for the league title. In the under 12s, we've been playing in the Premier Division all season, and the girls have put in some notable performances, but it is a tough division with a very high standard, and the girls have competed very well there. All the girls teams still have to play their cup matches. That's basically the update on behalf of Maroe AFC. The season has probably got another 4 weeks left to run, so we'll give a final update at the end of the season and hopefully have some news on some trophies. Thanks very much. And the girls Gaelic football. I suppose the first thing we'd like to mention on behalf of the girls Gaelic football is a big thank you to all the people in the parishes of Maroe and Boher for their great support in the recent Churchgate collection. The total amount collected was €778, and this will go a long way towards running the club for the coming season. The club itself is getting ready for the start of the new season, with the under-12s kicking off this coming Sunday and the under-14s and under-16s kicking off a week later. At the recent registration night held on behalf of the football, we had a total of 57 registrations, which is absolutely fantastic. In the space of 4 years, from where we had no one playing Gaelic football in the parish up to 57 people now registered under the Board and Oak for football. The club itself has had notable success in the past couple of years, and this has been recognised with some tremendous news in the last couple of weeks. 6 players from our under-16 squad have been selected to play for the Limerick County under-16 team in the upcoming Munster Championship. So very well done to Alana Russell, Shauna Ryan, Aoife Barry, Saoirse Barry, Grania Regan and Aisling Regan. And all those girls travelled to Galway last weekend to play a challenge match with Limerick against Galway, an excellent game of football. We were further delighted with the news that 3 of our under-14 team were selected to play on the county team as well for the Munster Championship. So again, congratulations to Sarah Jane Barry, Anya Cook and Lisa Leonard. And all those girls have made their debut for Limerick, and Limerick are actually going very well in the championship, having played 2 of their 3 championship matches with a win and a draw under their belt. They play this weekend, and a draw or a win will secure them a place in the B Munster final. So with a bit of luck, before the end of the season we might get a Munster and maybe even an All-Ireland medal back to the parish. So again, we would just like to congratulate all of those girls. Finally, we'd just like to mention that the under-16 team recently acquired a new set of jerseys, and we want to pay a particular mention to some of the people that helped sponsor these. So a big thank you first and foremost to Maroe Community Council for the sponsorship that we received from them through the 5k road race that was run last year, which was run to benefit female sport in the parish, and the funds that we got from that were proved vital. We'd also like to thank McCarthy Commercials from Cork, who gave some sponsorship to us towards it, to Ryan's Confectionery from Tipperary Town, and also a big thank you to Margaret and Dennis Holmes, who helped us out. It's very gratifying that so many people within the parish are appreciative of the work being done, and we're extremely delighted for all the help we receive. As I said, the championship kicks off next week, and hopefully the next update will bring news of a bit of success on the club front. Thank you very much.
And Father Ryan's Thought for the Week completes this programme.
How did you get over the Christmas? That's what people say after Christmas every year. And the usual answer given is, well, it was a quiet Christmas. And then the follow-up might go something like this. Christmas is only for children. And we have Christmas every day. But what intrigues me is this word quiet. I mean, Christmas is meant to be quiet and peaceful and happy. And so I have to say that I had a wonderful Christmas, and peaceful and happy, meeting family and friends. So we're gone about a month and a half since Christmas time, so we've only got about 10 and a half more months of shopping days to the next Christmas. And since Christmas, we've had more, I suppose, sad news than good news. On the 13th of January, I went to Knock with a good number of our priests for our annual diocesan retreat. And Knock is wonderful, but that bit far away. And indeed the weather wasn't great. But I have to say I love Knock. We had a wonderful retreat master, gave us very good spiritual talks. It's amazing that even at that time of the year, with the weather not so good, that there were quite a few people around Knock saying their prayers, going to masses and going to confession. So here we are now, moving into the year. This year I'm not going to listen to any weather predictions, because from now on people will be saying that somebody down in Kerry or somebody in Donegal is saying that we're going to get a great summer. June and July will be roasting, or maybe it'll be the other way around, that we're going to get a year worse than last year. And I understand that from people who forecast the weather, who prepare the weather forecast for us each day, will tell you that you cannot forecast how the weather is going to be a week ahead. So today has been a very nice day here. We had a little bit of heat in the sun, and we also had a bit of softness. And the evenings are getting longer. There's a good stretch in the evenings, so there's every reason to be a bit more joyful and happy. And with the bit of softness, we would hope that the snowdrops and the daffodils would be shooting up. And speaking of daffodils, I remember well that lovely poem we had in our school days, William Wordsworth's The Daffodils. And I'd just like to say a few verses from that beautiful poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. Then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. It's probably a little bit late to be wishing you a happy new year, but I really do wish you a happy and a good new year. And I hope and pray that you'll be blessed with good health, and that things will be good this year. And that it will be a good year, especially getting good weather and hopefully a good summer. I'd just like to leave you with a few wise words. God's grace within me and God's strength behind me can overcome any obstacle ahead of me. But not the Orv agus Lán Anish.